Okay, so you had to find the equation of an ellipse centered at the 0, 0 that satisfies the given condition. The x-intercepts at plus or minus 12 and the y-intercept plus or minus 4. There's your ellipse. The larger one is a, so that's the x squared, and then the b. So that was a pretty simple one. Questions? No? Good one, right? Easy way to start. Okay, find the center. This is typical what you'll get tomorrow. So you'll know this is an ellipse. How do you know this is an ellipse? Because the plus sign and the coefficients are different. Good. So you know you're looking for an ellipse. Plus it told you in the equation, but I won't tell you in the equation, in the sentence. So you're going to, it's already on the other side. So you're going to divide everything by 324. Your center is at 0, 0, so that made it nice. And your foci, can everybody find all the parts? Any questions on finding foci, vertex, covertices? Vertex are your majors, covertex are your minors. You got to label them as such. Foci is on your major axis. That's C. God bless you. So you could label F, C, F, yeah. As long as you tell me what's the vertex, what's the covertex, what's the foci. You have to simplify radicals. You always have to simplify radicals. You always have to reduce fractions. That's a given. Okay. Now we have a parabola. And how do I know this is a parabola? Besides what it told me. How would I recognize it? It's looking for a focus and a directrix. And in my equation, I only have one square. One square. So looking at this equation, which way is that going to open? To the right. And what told you to the right? It's positive, and it's a y squared. Y squared opens sideways, positive to the right. So remember, the most important thing about the parabola is P. The distance from the vertex to the directrix or the focus, because they're the same distance apart. If P is positive, it's opening right. If P is negative, it's opening left. This guy right here is 4P. So set that equal to 4P. Actually, nope, don't set that equal to 4P yet. You got to get y squared by itself first, and then set that equal to 4P. And make sure you just label things. A directrix is a line. So make sure you give me the equation of a line. Don't just say -6, because it needs to be a line. Okay. Find the equation that satisfies this guy. Yep. The ellipse. There's my center. There's my vertex. I find it helpful if you translate your axis. Kind of judge better. When you do your sketch, just remember to kind of place it around the axis. Like if it's short of the axis, don't put it over. If it's over, don't put it short. You know what I'm saying? So kind of judge that. Judge by where your center is. Remember again, when they give you a minor axis or a major axis length, you're going to have to cut it in half to get the A or the B. Because that's the length of the whole axis. Yes. In this case, yeah, I have to tell you. Because this could be an ellipse or a hyperbola. Not a parabola, but it could be ellipse or hyperbola. I have to tell you. When I say find an equation, I will tell you. The other ones, I won't tell you, because you'll have to figure that out. And you will. You'll see it. Right? Questions? Stop and ask me. This is your review. Again, find the equation. Here's another ellipse. And I would definitely have to tell, well, minor axis, major axis, you have to know which one. So again, your minor axis, if the length is 10, half of it is B. So don't forget to cut it in half. The distance from the center to your vertex is A. The distance from your center to your co-vertex is B. The distance from the center to your foci is C. The ellipse, again, not that you needed it here, but the ellipse again is C squared equals A squared minus B squared because you want them to come inside. The hyperbola, we add them so they come outside. And again, you could put the ellipse in either order. You could put, because it's commutative property, you could put either one, but the one that, the major axis has to go over the one with the longer piece. The hyperbola is the one that matters who comes first. Okay. The only bad part about this unit is it's kind of broken up because of all the testing, but the rest of it's really not that bad of a concept. Find the equation, excuse me, of a parabola given your focus and directrix. So if I have my focus and my directrix, my vertex has to come smack in the middle because it has to be equal distance from both. So take those, find a point along this line, along this axis where your focus is, and cross over your directrix, so you know it's got to come this way. So find that point halfway. That's your vertex point. And remember, I want them in the format. I want this format. Or when it's this way. The X always goes with the H. The Y always goes with the K. Were these all find equations? Oh. Okay. There's another find an equation. Parabola. You have a focus point and a vertex. Find P. It's opening down. Find your distance for P. If it's opening down, it's an x squared. Use your vertex point. Formulas are helpful, but the formulas, again, you still have to figure out what direction you're going in before you remember what formula to use. So kind of get a feel for what you're doing rather than memorize a formula. Right, and did you guys get this last part? Yeah. So identifying these, get everything to one side first, because even though your x squared and your y squared are opposite sides, they're on opposite sides of the equal sign. When you move your y squared over, it's going to give you an ellipse. The second one, when you move your y squared over, it's going to give you a hyperbola. The third one's going to give you a circle. Yeah. Well, that's because your coefficients are exact, not just because it's a perfect square, but because your coefficients are exactly the same. When you move this over, they're both 1. So when you divide by 16, it's a special ellipse. You could even draw it as an ellipse. You can use your ellipse formula for this as well. You know how like a square is a special rectangle? A circle is a special ellipse. And the last one was also a circle. No, but you will have to know which one it is when I give you that whole big thing where you have to complete the square. There were none on this review?
No.
Okay. Oh, well, so let's hit the other review. This is the c squared equals a squared minus b squared because we want our foci to come inside, so we subtract. When we want them to come outside, we add. Everybody okay with this? Uh-huh. I'll see if we can squeeze in a hyperbola one and then a parabola one. A is 5, so a squared is 5, so a is radical 5. Don't forget those are squared. An easy way to remember it is, we got the square on top, it's squared on the bottom as well. And sometimes with the big numbers, obviously we're not going to have you do like a 625 or a 150 or something, so you know they're going to be squared. Okay, so let's hit another one. Let's have you find Alright, so no, because they're both negative. Alright, let's have you do this one. Number 3. Try number 3. What's that going to be? Parabola. How did you know? 1 square. So the format of your equation is going to be what? H squared. Good. Good. Very good. So you're heading to that. This helped you out. Let me find the hyperbola one. That one, and we'll do a hyperbola. As soon as I can find one. All these videos, you think I would find one. Oh, I don't want to hear. I don't know what to do. That's not good. Hey, how do you start this? How did you start this? You okay? Feel free to go get a drink or take a cough drop. But how should I start this? Oh, the X is on one side, all the Y is on the other side. So which side should I keep the X's on? The left, wherever the square is. Keep the square here. So we're going to keep these guys, move those guys over. Remember, opposite way. Reverse them. Now, do I want that negative there? No. So you have a couple of different choices here. I also don't want the 3 there either, because I can't complete the square with the 3 in there. Agree? So if you want, you can take the negative 3 out now. You can divide by a negative 1. So how did you do it? You take out the negative 3? Okay, so let's factor it out. Oops, minus. Okay, now what should I do with that negative 3? Do I ever have a number in front of here? So how can I get rid of this? Divide both sides. Divide everything by negative 3. Yeah, this is not going to look exactly pretty, but it's going to work. We're going to complete your square. So this becomes a positive 2y and a negative 10 thirds. So now, yeah, please, honey, go ahead. X minus 1 squared. I add 1. Add 1 to this guy, so that's like adding 3 over 3. Okay, now what? Just ignore this line right now. I'm just going to write right over it. Now what? Yeah, it's not pretty. I have to take out the 2. That's got to be, doesn't it have to be y minus something by itself, and then whatever's in front of that is my 4p. So I got to take out a 2. So when I divide that by 2, what do I get? 7 over 6. It's okay. I know you guys are fraction phobic, but it's okay. What's my vertex? Okay. What's my p? 1/2, because this is equal to 4p. P is equal to 1/2, and which way is this going to open? Up. It's going to open up. So you're going to plot your vertex. It's a little bit over 1, so that's okay. You're going to plot your vertex, and you're also going to find your intercepts. X is equal to 0, y is equal to 0. Now remember, you can use any of these. If I was using this, x is 0, I would take it out of the first equation. X is 0, take that out. Can you solve for y? It's going to be a fraction, but that's okay, right? So I'm going to solve for, if I'm doing my intercepts, so that you remember, on the parabola, you have to do the intercepts. If I have to make x be 0, this is my easiest one to take it out of. So therefore, add 10. So 6y is equal to 10. And reduce this. So it's going to intercept at the 5/2. If I'm going to find the x-intercept, my y is 0, probably over here is easier for me. And I'm going to put the y of 0 in here. Am I going to be able to get a y-intercept on this? Just work with me here. If I put a 0 here, and I get a negative over here, am I being able to get an x-intercept over here? So I say no real x-intercept. I know this is opening up, so is it going to touch the x-axis? But just make sure you say no real x-intercept. Okay. And then do your focus in the directrix. All right, see this one in here? Let me get this out of here. Which is this one? Hyperbola. So let's work on your hyperbola. We have a couple of minutes. Let's work this one out together. So again, group the x's, group the y's together. You're going to complete the square. And this is a good one because when it's a minus sign, how do I have that little sign in here? How do I get rid of this thing? Oh, thank you, honey. Would you just drag this away? I can't get rid of that. Sorry. I don't know if it's going to let me write over it or not. So we have a 6x plus something, and we're going to move this guy to the other side. Okay. Remember to factor. So how many times does 16 come out of this? 8. Well, Miss Boy. Hi. No problem. Yes. Right now. Sure. Okay. Correct. Okay. And now you're very popular. A minute before the period's over, you gotta go to guidance. Okay. Okay, so it's 8, right? Is it 8? Now, what do I do with this guy? I pull out the -1. You can't leave the subtract there because it's the same as saying plus and negative. So it belongs to this guy. Factor out the -1. That gives you your minus in the middle. And your x minus h has to be positive in here. So I'm going to factor out the -1. Okay, so half of -4, half of 8 is -4. So 16 times 16 is what? 256? 256. Half of, you should know the squares a little bit. 9, get the -9 in here. So someone add this on a calculator for me, please. It adds up to 16? Good. Okay, so now what? Divide everybody by 16. So this, if it helps, I would keep this over 1. This way you know what A is, because it's sometimes if you don't put the fraction, you don't see it. Okay, so what's A? 1. Remember, A squared always comes first. In a hyperbola, whoever comes first is your transversal axis. So your hyperbolas are coming off your y-axis. So what's B? 4. And C we can figure out. I don't really care about C right now. Okay, what's your center? -3, 4. So somewhere up here, -3, 4. Okay, so the y is going over 1. Up 1, down 1. So those are my vertex points. So my vertex says take this guy, go up 1 and down 1. Agree? Your co-vertex, so to speak, is going over 4. Well, you are at -3. So if you come to 4, it's going to come over here. I don't care. I don't need you to name that. You just need to mark it so that you can make your box. Now, send your asymptotes through here. Kind of wide. And then make your hyperbola.
Miss Moore,
Yes.
how do you know that the y is going to end up in front?
I didn't until we finished the whole thing.
I mean, because couldn't you have rearranged problem where the axis different?
If this side was negative, when I divided by, if I divide by a negative, it would swap those signs. You know it's a hyperbola because the signs are different, but you don't know which one comes first yet. Until after you get to complete it. Guys, wait 1 second. Let's do an asymptote. An asymptote. So you go to your y. This is y minus 4. Plus or minus. This equals plus or minus. This is your slope. Change in y. Go to your y. Take the square root. 1. Change in x. Go to your x. Take the square root. 4. And then this is x plus 3. The only thing I want you to do is add the 4. And you could leave it just like this. Remember your asymptote. Take the y piece, the x piece, and the slope in the middle. What? Yeah. There is, but all you gotta do is get this y piece, get this x piece like this. It's an equation of a line. This is your slope. Your slope is changing y, so find the y, take the square root under it. Find the x, take the square root under it. There's the slope. And I don't need you to go any further than that. Just get it y equal.